All right, surprise evidence gets in on day one of the Satoshi trials. Let's go ahead and recap what the court order said and recap basically what we can expect coming up. So day one started out here that, basically they had the COPA lawyer get up on the stand, and he pled his case quite, mapped out what to expect in the coming days, which is going to be right on the stand tomorrow. Today was just pretty much going through the scheduling orders. It was more of a scheduling orders from each side and going over a case management about what to expect on the evidence. And then there were some objections on additional evidence that the court actually allowed to come in. So the COPA side gave their presentation, which is most of the same routine that they've been talking about. The right side has submitted false documents. The BTC Core, BTC developer side gave a more of a shortened, summarized version of similar allegations, and he brought in a couple of other claims that Wright's just not credible. Then Wright had a solicitor that approached the stand with a much more, I'd say, a much more humble, gentlemanly-like approach, and he was highly experienced. The other two solicitors for the BTC and also the COPA side were a little, they were like middle-aged, I'd say, in there, let's say 50. This the solicitor for Wright was senior, and he was extremely calm. He was enjoyable to listen to, and he had a really kind of a very friendly, docile way about him in being a very gentlemanly to the other side, calling him friend to the other side, and being very respectful to the allegations that they were making, and also extremely polite to the court. And ultimately, that paid off because what he was after was admitting additional evidence from a new report that Wright had a new expert report that Wright had, and this report, was provided to the other side on January the 12th. It looks like, January 12th. And the other side had plenty of time to review it. This is what he's claiming, and it wouldn't prejudice them at all if they got it in. And in fact, the other side raised objections, and they said, well, we would be prejudiced, and we won't actually have time to review it, but it's also irrelevant. And so then, counsel for Wright gets back up there, and he says, well, Your Honor, if it's irrelevant, then it won't prejudice them because it's not relevant. It's not going to help Wright. Or if it is relevant, then they should have a chance to object to it. So, they can't have it both ways. The court saw it that way. The other side was objecting, saying that they wouldn't get Mr. Madden to have time to review it. And he gets back up and says, oh, Mr. Madden has not reviewed this, even though Wright's counsel said he likely believed he had, since they had it since the 12th. So now Mr. Madden, which is the expert for COPA, is going to have time to review the claim, review all the new evidence, and respond to it accordingly at trial. And, it seems like it's not going to really change too much of the flow. Wright's still going to be cross-examined, and then Mr. Madden, for their side, will come in and be able to rebut it. And apparently it's an expert that, I don't know if it's a new expert report. There's also the Strauss report, if that's a new expert report or if that's additional testimony from an expert that's already been submitted. That's not clear, but there was a funny kind of a joke there. The BTC Core developers, they said that they had hacked Dr. Wright's password for a website or an email. And they said, his password was Bitcoin 11. That was rather funny. And then when counsel for Wright got up, he says, well, Your Honor, the opposing counsel has had plenty of time to hack into Dr. Wright's password, and trying however many countless attempts that must have taken to do that. They should have had plenty of time to review all this new evidence that we gave them since January 12th. And I think there was kind of a chuckle in the courtroom, and opposing counsel got up and interrupted. And that was probably the only high drama moment in the courtroom, is when the BTC Core developers counsel got up and interrupted the solicitor, saying, talking about how, what wasn't exactly on that point, but it was on another point where he says, that's exactly the opposite of what I said, Your Honor. And they call it, my lord, not Your Honor. My lord, that was exactly the opposite of what he said. So rather funny outburst there of unprofessionalism from the BTC Core developer side. And ultimately, it was a favorable ruling to the Wright side to get in the additional evidence. So there's going to be new evidence that we're not privy to exactly what it is. It was handled, I'd say, pretty well. We imagine if you were Wright and you're being accused of forging all this stuff. Everything you do is a forgery. There isn't one thing that you've done creditable in this whole case. They basically made it to where every single piece of documents that he's in is a fraud. So it's at a point of kind of like ridiculousness. Like, you mean the guy just can't even? It's just starting to not make sense on the COPA side as to how they're even conceiving this. I'm trying to rationalize it, but it just seems to be very, very unplausible. And Counsel for Wright got up and he very articulately and delicately rebutted these allegations, and he had explanations about how the files automatically update. These PDF files do software updates, and it seemed to be, he had an explanation for these things, and also expert reports that appear to be rebutting each one of the allegations. So I would say we're starting at neutral ground going into tomorrow. It's not like one side's got, I'd say a slight advantage for the right side since he's got this new evidence that's going to be brought in. And what that new evidence, how powerful it's going to be. The court at the very end said that, he wasn't really sure if the evidence was going to help Dr. Wright much, but he did let it in. He's going to hear it. So that was a win. It's additional evidence. We'll see how it goes. Now, I'm going to be doing an interview with some of the guys, Scott, who was in the courtroom today, with a few of the people. We're going to talk here shortly thereafter this, and just kind of get a recap on the ground, people on the ground, and see exactly what they thought in the body language and how things were going down on day one of the big fight, the Satoshi trial, to identify once and for all the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, and then roll over to the passing off claim, which will be really interesting. Hopefully I can give some perspective on this. I'm definitely going to be watching it again tomorrow morning. First thing, I'll be up early and recapping on this. So stay tuned for the next video. We're going to do an interview with Scott, who has been actually doing a great feed on Twitter live from the courtroom. He's able to tweet like very detailed process of what's been going on. So I'll get his information on the next video for the Twitter. So stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe at the like button, notification bells, okay? And I will see you guys at the very top.